When 24-year-old me purchased that Nissan Cargo van 2 years ago, I had lofty ambitions of making something close to the ultimate adventure photography vehicle with plush amenities and a modern finish, which immediately set me up for success considering my knowledge of power tools was limited to toasters. My drive and intentions were in the right place, but I was largely inexperienced and, for lack of a better phrase, I had zero idea what I was doing. I mean, come on, could you blame me for my naivete? Look at this guy. Does he look like he has any idea what he is doing with those? Building out my van taught me so many things that I never knew. And in this video, I want to dive into some of the biggest takeaways and things that I wish I had learned before I started my conversion. Though people often liken it to building a house, it is nothing like building a house. When you're building a house, you're putting up the frame and hopefully everything is square. In a van, you already have the frame, but it is not square. You'll find yourself often contorted in small spaces, and you'll learn quickly that very seldom are two pieces that you make the same. Everything is a custom fit that needs to be tapered and tailored and stenciled to fit the van perfectly. Cardboard stencils are going to become your best friend because otherwise you're going to end up wasting a whole ton of wood just to realize that it's not quite accurate and that you should have done it with a piece of cardboard, made sure that fit, transferred that cardboard stencil to the piece of wood, cut that out, and then it would fit nice and snug. Number 2, the design is the most important part. Plan it out properly. I often wasn't patient enough and I would kind of get halfway through my design and then I'd start building, only for my half-assed design to come around and bite me in the ass. As my dad kept telling me, think thrice, measure twice, cut once. Everyone who's ever touched a piece of wood knows the measure twice, cut once saying, but the thinking thrice here is really the most important. It took me too long to realize, but I did eventually find out that if I just bit the bullet, sat down and thoroughly thought through everything in detail, that it would drastically increase my speed and efficiency and dramatically decrease the amount of trips I would have to take to Home Depot. There were some days when I would go to Home Depot like 5 times in a day because I'd be like, looks like I need this. So I'd go and I'd get that. And then well, now I need this. Oh, this came up. This went wrong. Oh, I need a new piece of this. But when I thought everything through, I knew exactly what needed to be done. I knew exactly where it was going to go. I knew how big it needed to be. I knew what tools I needed. And everything went super, super smooth. Most of the time. Number 3, you need to let go of being a perfectionist. Especially as my first project, I thought that I needed to do everything perfect. I had a goal in mind of a van that had perfect corners, perfect edges, everything was square. And though I feel like I got pretty close to my goal, there are definitely some gaps that just weren't worth redoing. There are things that you just kind of have to let go. Because you could spend forever trying to get everything perfect. Make sure that everything is cut to the proper 1/32 of an inch. And that everything is square. But the reality is that you're working in a van that's not level, that's not square, and you don't have all the time in the world. There are tons and tons of imperfections in my van. Not huge glaring ones, but little ones that if you looked, you'd be like, that could probably be better. And could I have fixed all of those things? Yes. But would it have been worth all the time? Everything functions perfectly fine in here. Sure, there's a few cosmetic defects, but that kind of gives it character. It reminds me of where I was in the learning process at that time. It's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I was learning how to do this. I was learning how to do that. Oh, I remember when I screwed that up. I remember how frustrating that was. And I don't know, it's kind of nice to see the mistakes. It's not some cookie cutter RV that came off of the line that had machines of robots working on it. This was handmade. Everything in here was handmade. Remember that good is not the enemy of perfect, but perfect is the enemy of done. can't remember who said that, but it is very true. Done is better than perfect. Number 4, it's gonna take way longer than you think. A wise man once said that as humans, we vastly underestimate the amount of time things are going to take. A more accurate way of gauging how long it'll take to do something is take your initial time estimate and then just multiply it by pi.
Six more to go.
Like I said, I didn't do the best job planning, and it probably would have gone faster if I did. And on top of that, I had to learn all of the skills that I needed to pull off of all of these things I wanted to do. I had to learn how to do basic plumbing of water. I had to learn about electrical. I had to learn how to run and deal with propane stuff. I had to learn basic woodworking. You would think that it's just easy to cut at a 90-degree angle, but then you're cutting it and you're like, why is this not square? And you realize that cutting wood square is a skill that you have to learn. It's not as easy as just running it through the saw. And these are all little tiny hurdles that you have to navigate in order to pull all of this off. And it's a big learning process. So that's it. Those are the 4 biggest takeaways and things that I wish that I had learned before I started my van conversion. If you found this video helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, my foot's asleep. Oh.